established Rich coming right back at you. And today, we got to talk about Rick Ross on Patrick Bet Davis' podcast, Disrespecting Freeway Ricky Ross. And I'm going to say this plain. Rick Ross looked crazy in that interview. He didn't look crazy because he's not successful, because he is. He looked crazy because he sat there being called Rick Ross while disrespecting the man who had the name first. That's the part that makes this whole thing hard to watch. You can win a lawsuit. You can build a bigger career. You can make hit records. You can buy land and become one of the best brand builders in hip-hop history. But you still can't sit there and act like grown people don't know where your name came from. Rick Ross didn't just use a random name. He used a name that already had a story attached to it.
I heyday as much as maybe 1 million a day, 2 million a day sometimes, maybe more, a few days. This wasn't every day though. Right. It was like, we had days that.
That's how much you were taking in?
Right. In one day.
Yeah. Ross says he complained to his supplier, Danilo Blandon, that he had difficulty counting all the money.
So eventually he bought us a money machine, he brought it over to us and it eased the pain, a lot. But eventually it even got too much for one money machine. We wound up getting 3 money machines to count it. Cause one money machine would just be running. And then we'd have money stacked. And we had people that, all they would do all day was count money.
He used a name connected to drug kingpin history and a real person who lived with the consequences of that name before the rapper ever made it into entertainment. So when Patrick Bet David asked him about Freeway Rick Ross, that was not some crazy question. That was the question anybody with common sense would ask. And Ross could have handled it like a man who already won. He could have said the courts handled it, I built my own legacy, and I'm focused on what I created. That would have been enough, but he didn't do that. He started calling the man a crackhead, mocking his money, questioning his legacy, and acting like Freeway Rick Ross was too low to even be part of his story. That's where he lost me.
It was about a period of my life that I kept bringing people on because I wanted to find out who killed Tupac. So I brought on Freeway Rick Ross. I don't know what it was, probably 10 years ago. I did podcasts 2 times with him. And he came on and we spoke. And your name came up. Because in the lawsuit, he tried to sue you twice. I've never seen somebody try to sue somebody twice. That at the end, is it true that at the end of the lawsuit, he had to pay for your legal fees?
He wasted a lot of people's time. I hope he's coping with the crack addiction that he's been dealing with this whole time. And I hope your listeners, I hope you didn't disappoint your listeners listening to that. I just hope, man, you gotta maintain a certain level of quality, and you've allowed it to dip
to
a few times.
Put him on.
You should go look at your ratings. Pull up the ratings.
Right, type in YouTube Rick Ross Bet David. Let's see how he performed. I don't know actually how he performed, but let's look it up.
The problem is bigger than whether or not Rick Ross had the legal right to use the name. The court already dealt with that. The bigger issue is how he tries to insult the audience's intelligence. Everybody knows why people connected the rapper Rick Ross to the real Rick Ross. It was the name, the image, and the drug kingpin language. It was the way the music sold a lifestyle built around money, power, street risk, and underworld status. That don't mean Freeway Rick Ross wrote the songs. That don't mean he made the beats. That don't mean Freeway created Maybach music. Rick Ross did that part. And that's why the denial makes no sense. He could give himself credit without acting like the original had no value. That's what secure people do. They tell the truth and keep it moving. But when Ross started getting loud, getting personal, and trying to make Freeway look like a nobody, it made him look like the question still bothers him. A man who is really past something doesn't need to keep trying to destroy it every time it comes up. And that's what made this whole interview feel uncomfortable. Rick Ross has too much success to still sound defensive. He got too much money to still sound net pressed. He got too much history in the game to act like admitting the obvious would make him less than a boss. The truth would not have hurt him. The disrespect did. Now let's be honest about Freeway Ricky Ross too. Freeway Rick Ross is not some pure hero figure. His story is connected to drugs, prison, the crack era, and the real damage that was done to the black community. We don't have to pretend that part don't exist. But Rick Ross, the rapper, did not build his image by rejecting that world. He built his image turning that type of world into music, luxury, power, and cinematic boss talk. That's why this disrespect feels dishonest. You can't use the energy of that world to sell records, then act morally above the man who actually lived inside the real version of it. That don't land right. It makes this whole thing feel fake. And this is why hip hop has to be honest about image. A lot of rap is character. A lot of rap is people taking real stories, real names, real street history, and turning it into art. That's been going on forever. The issue is not that Rick Ross created a character. The issue is that he wants people to believe the character had no source material. That's what the problem is.
Type in Bet David and Rick Ross. Watch the cult guy come up first. 1.6 million.
The cult guy, you get...
No, but right there, that's Freeway Rick Ross was what, 6 years ago? Click on that. I think it performed pretty well. It did okay, 1.6 million. You want to go to the comment section? Let's see what the audience said. So I'm trying to see, I'm giving you my last alley hoop, and I'm trying to see what you're going to do with this one.
It's not an alley hoop. This is...
If you don't respect everyone, then you're disrespecting yourself.
This is...
I feel like this man...
Informant / crackhead.
Was he the reason why you named yourself what you named yourself, or not at all? Was there any influence there?
He's a crackhead. What are you talking about? Pull up crack. Pull up smoking crack. Freeway smoking crack. This what you should be talking about on your...
Him smoking crack?
You let me down. You're disappointing me because... Where's the crack? Pull it up. I don't see it. Pull up the headlines.
Say now or back in the days. Because we know back in the days he had issues.
We don't know nothing. I'm asking to pull it up. When he sued me, he had to admit the facts about him being an informant, cooperating with this and that.
We know that. We talked about that. That's not something that we don't know.
Why you're not? That's what people.
Oh, that was the conversation. No, and that's why the interview did well, because we specifically talked about that. He had a big role in
You
that.
ain't mentioning it to me.
Oh, no. The question I asked
that he was abusing crack.
Yeah,
I'm sure he came and lied to you and told you he made $3 million a day, and he never did. He ever show you a home?
No.
Did he ever show you a home?
He said he owned.
Did he show you his car collection?
No.
Did he show you his watch collection? What the $3 million a day? Where was it going to? Thank you. Thank you.
I mean,
thank you.
Ross tried to make it about where did Freeway's money go. He wanted to know what the houses were, what the cars were, what the watches were, and whether Freeway really had the kind of money people say he had. But that argument does not answer the real question. The question is not whether or not Freeway Rick Ross is rich today. The question is whether or not his name and story carried enough weight for a rapper to build a major image around it. And the answer is yes. Freeway could have lost all his money, lost time, lost status, and still had a name that meant something to the culture. That's why people know who he is. That's why the lawsuit mattered. That's why Patrick Bet David asked the question. And that's why Ross got in his feelings. If Freeway Rick Ross had no cultural value, there would be nothing to get mad about. But the reaction told on him. He didn't just disagree. He went out of his way to diminish the man. That tells me the subject still has power. And that power comes from the name. Rick Ross can say he made the name bigger in music, and that would be true. He can say he built his own empire, and that would be true too. He can say he outworked, outbranded, and outlasted a lot of people in hip-hop, and that would be true. But none of that requires him to act like Freeway Rick Ross was never part of the equation. That's the part that makes this feel so unnecessary. And that's where the credibility damage comes in. It's not that people just found out about the name. People been knew about the name. The damage is watching Ross act like everybody is crazy for remembering it. That's what makes a person start questioning him differently. Because if you can't be honest about something that's obvious, what else are you spinning? That's a fair question. And it's a question Ross created by how he answered.
It's PBD. Your listeners deserve better. This is Ricky Ross.
Did he at all inspire the name, though? That's the only question.
I thought I've answered that 3 times.
I don't think you did. I think you went to crack, and I know he had the crack issue.
Why would a crackhead
introduce it to a lot of young kids, and it was a bad thing?
Why would a crackhead inspire the boss Rick Ross to want to be the informant? That's not. No, that's why the lawsuit failed.
So the two of you guys have never spoken one-on-one,
brother. You lowering the standards of the interview now. We can't focus on crack.
If I ran a poll.
We can't focus on crack. I have a car show coming out that's so huge. My dentist, shout out to Dr. Mario Montoya. You know, there's people out here that Freeway Rick Ross, he could have used a teeth cleaning. Did you offer him a teeth cleaner?
I should have.
Heavy plaque.
You think so?
Oh man, that's what I'm trying to tell you. And
but you guys never met.
I got a dentist office. We actually was during the lawsuit. Yeah, he reached out to shake my hand and I didn't shake his hand. He said it in an interview.
He said he called you in 2008 and he said sometime you guys
He never called me.
He said, and you offered to help him or something like that.
Stop. Big cap. If I offered to help him, why would he sue and not get nothing? Come on, man. You got to be smarter than that.
The main thing that stands out now is how personal he made it. He could have kept it on business, kept it on the court case, kept it on his career, but instead, he started talking about the man's teeth, his hygiene, his past, his intelligence, and that was just unnecessary. It made Ross look like he was trying too hard to embarrass him. And when you try that hard to embarrass somebody you claim don't matter, it makes people wonder why you so emotional about him. That's what I couldn't get past. Rick Ross is too big for that kind of answer. He got too much to stand on to be sitting there throwing low blows at a man who already lost a lawsuit for his own name. If you won, why not move like you won? If you built your own legacy, why not speak from that place? If Freeway really had no influence, why did the question get under your skin like that? Those are the questions this interview left behind. And the answers don't make Ross look good. It makes him look like he knows the name has an origin story that he can't control. That's the real issue. He controls the rap brand, the music catalog, the business, and the image he built for himself. But he does not control the fact that Freeway Rick Ross was born with that name. He does not control the fact that the connection to the name made him seem larger than life. That's why this question will never fully go away. And every time he responds like this, he makes the question bigger. That's the part he needs to understand. The public don't need Rick Ross to apologize for being successful. The public don't want him to hand his career over to Freeway. People just want him to stop acting like the obvious isn't obvious. That's all. Just say the name had history and you turned it into something else. That answer would have been stronger than 4 minutes of insults. But Ross chose the worst version as a response. He chose disrespect. He chose denial. He chose to act like Freeway Rick Ross was beneath him. And that's why this moment hit wrong. This is about whether greatness comes with enough honesty to admit what helped shape the image. On that podcast, he failed the test. He may have won in court, but he did not win in that moment. He kept the name legally, but he made himself look bad culturally. And in hip-hop, culture still matters. Legal rights can protect the brand. The culture decides how that brand looks when people look back at it. Right now, this PPD moment made Ross look petty and dishonest about something everybody already understands. Freeway Rick Ross may not have built the rapper Rick Ross's career, but his name helped open the door for his image. And if Ross is really the boss he says he is, he should be able to admit that without falling apart in a podcast chair. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe, establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.